Finally, the day we went to meet Fido and we had to walk him, our man got bitten by another dog. But we still decided to go ahead. We've been here for almost 10 years now. He moved here earlier and then I got married to him when I moved here. And obviously us not having a dog, that presence of an animal made it quite difficult. So that's how I started volunteering with SOSD, joined them in 2016. Because he's never interacted with dogs or he's never owned a dog, obviously learning how to work with them, handle them. He didn't really have have an idea about that, so he would join me at all my adoption drives at SOSD, come for each of those, sit down with the dogs, speak to the handlers, get a sense, learn from them. And then finally in 2018, we decided to adopt.
And got bitten?
Yeah, it was Fido. He liked Fido. He had actually met Fido at the adoption drive and said maybe this could be our dog. And finally the day we went to meet Fido and we had to walk him, our man got bitten by another dog. But we still decided to go ahead, and that's how Fido came into our lives. Bilbo was actually a foster who came to us. He is a Jurong Island rescue, and usually a lot of dogs that are coming from Jurong Island are extremely scared and skittish. He wouldn't be in the same room as us. He wouldn't eat if we were in the same room. He was always hidden behind this couch or in the bedroom. We literally had to bring another dog in for him to settle down and to understand that we can be trusted. Well, it is an elaborate process. SOSD is very clear about the rules and why the process is in place. The team was very honest and open about what each stage would be and how it had to be run, and we understood why it was laid out. At the end, you are trying to match a life with a family, right? It's a living being, and you need to make sure that you have all the necessary checks in place so that your dog is going into a safe environment.
Like humans, they have personalities, they have their own characteristics, their traits. You've got to learn how to work with it, right? It's like how you'd work with your spouse or your partner or your colleagues or your friends and family. It's not going to come easy. Personal example is when Fido came home, because he'd always been fostered by women. He's extremely comfortable with women, and so when he came home the first time, he was not particularly comfortable around me. And then Nivi and I, we had this conversation, and she was traveling on work. So I said, you know what? When I come back from my work trip and she's going to head off on work, I will go and pick up Fido from May's place and bring him home, and maybe that would help build a bond. I think I overestimated my abilities at that point, because that first 1 week, he wouldn't let me get into the house. I'd call her up and like, hey, this guy doesn't let me come home. What am I supposed to do? And they'd say, no, just throw a treat and talk to him in a soft voice. I tried all of that, but one day I remember coming back home fairly ticked off after work, and this guy's still barking at me, wouldn't let me enter. And then I barked back at him, like I just shouted at him. And so he took a couple of steps back, and you could see this pause where he was thinking, he's like, oh, maybe he's also an alpha. And that changed the dynamic. From that moment on, he sort of gave me my space, I'd give him his space, but it still took 2 months. So, sorry to try and answer that question is, it's not easy. It takes work, but that work is extremely rewarding at the end of the day.
So, Bilbo had initially come to us as a foster, like I mentioned, right? And he'd actually come to us because he needed a home to heal in. He sort of had a medical problem, which we couldn't really diagnose what it was. There was a day when he woke up and he seemed very off, very frail, very weak. Was throwing up, and we didn't know what it was, so we quickly rushed him to the vet. They did a few tests, warded him for the night, and then sent him back the next day because he seems okay. So we thought maybe it's a one-off episode, something that he's eaten and something went wrong. A week later, it relapsed, and this I think happened about 3 or 4 in the morning, where we heard this boy yelp in pain, wake up, and then he couldn't really stand up or walk. and he started throwing up, and there was a lot of blood that he was throwing up. So we knew something was really off. Immediately rushed him to emergency, and they had to have tubes into his body so that he could be fed. And this boy wouldn't eat because he missed us so much. And every day Aravind and I would go to see him in the evening. We'd get there to feed him his food, and I think just that 15 minutes of seeing us perked this boy up so much. Like, he would try and stand up despite the pain he was. He would try and eat, and you'd see that happiness in his face, and then when you're leaving, you see that sadness. I think that was obviously something that you don't want any pet parent to go through, one, and the memory keeps popping up in our photographs. Obviously brings back a lot of emotions for us. I don't think it's something that we want to live through as well. Again, he's much better, but yeah, it's not something that you want to.
Touch wood, he hasn't gone through a relapse. But I think that sort of incident is where both of us also felt that we had gotten closer to Bilbo. So when he came back home, Fido seemed to be quite concerned about him, even though he's not usually that type.
Yeah.
And then I think at some time around then, over the next couple of months, we sort of took the plunge and we said, look, we're not giving him up for adoption. We'll just keep him. Yeah. So it went from foster to foster field.
Yes.
Okay, finish. No more treats.
So to everyone joining us at the SOSD charity dinner, thank you for being there. And if you'd like to continue supporting our cause and supporting our dogs and help us bring in more rescues, please scan the QR code that's on your table and donate. Whatever the amount is it makes a load of difference for us and for our dogs. Thank you.